In this section, we are going to define what self-esteem is and what its components are, which is what will allow us to determine in the following sections how this self-esteem is lost, and based on this, how you can recover it. To do this, in addition to defining what self-esteem is, we are going to work on the two elements from which this self-esteem is built, and in turn, what is the composition of these main elements that define whether or not you have this self-esteem that is lost. Since either because of some general trauma or because you have ended a relationship that was important to you. Let's start with the basics. What is self-esteem? This is defined as the value you give to yourself, which, as you will see later, is lost because sometimes other people make you believe that you do not have the value that you do possess. Now, what's the problem with failing to see your own value? In the case of a relationship breakup, when you lose your self-esteem, you could enter a relationship with someone who is going to treat you badly, precisely because you by yourself fail to see the value you have for others, because you fail to appreciate your own value. In fact, this happens to most of my clients in my practice. They lose a relationship, and the next one is usually someone who doesn't give them the treatment they deserve because they undervalue themselves. For example, they don't set limits. They enter into a very toxic relationship for this. Therefore, as you can infer, this process of lost self-esteem only intensifies as you enter relationships that are toxic to you. And with this, I not only mean on a romantic level, but also on the level of social relationships that you might have. Many people create codependent relationships precisely because not having a balanced self-esteem, they tend to believe that they are the problems for others. And therefore, they try with all their might to accommodate to other people, friends or family, who treat them badly. Therefore, if you look closely, the second problem of low self-esteem arises that you lose your personality and the confidence and security in being who you are. Your true self, and with them, your desires and the type of life you want to build for yourself, are completely diluted because of this frame. That is precisely why it is so important that you can recover your self-esteem and learn to control it as quickly as possible. The third problem that arises in a case of low self-esteem is that as a consequence of the previous factors that I have told you about, that is relating to someone who treats you badly and also losing your personality, is that you relate to people who make you fall to their level. Deep down, you enter into romantic or friendship relationships with people who are bad for you, for your life in general. If you notice, here I am not just talking about abuse or undervaluation, but about how you begin to carry out actions that hurt you to appear like people who have nothing valuable to give you, precisely because you don't see the great value you possess. Here, the issue of addictions or a lifestyle that does not suit you arises. I had the case of a person who, after losing her husband, wanted to be very similar to her new partner, someone who had nothing to do with who she was. She began to consume drugs because her partner did. She became alcoholic because her partner liked to drink. And she finally began to live in the culture in which her partner at the time lived. This thing about going out almost every night and developing a promiscuous life because her partner told her that this was how they should live, in freedom. He called this person. She finally realized how much worse her life had become. And that's when she came to my consultation, where we had to do the entire process of reconstructing her psyche, her ego state, and eventually her self esteem, which is what we are going to be working on in these sections. So, up to this point, you already know what self esteem is, which is defined as the value you give to yourself, and what are the problems that arise if you lose your self esteem when entering a new relationship or social relationship.